Chu Tanner woke up and got up in a hurry. She dreamed again of what happened that night when she came over. She called her maid to ask, only to realize that it was already lunchtime. After crossing over, Chu Tanner's memory of last night still remained in the confinement room for a moment, and she was amazed even when she saw the new dress on her body. It turned out that Chu Tanner passed out again after touching the organ in the confinement room last night. After waking up, she became the real second miss of the Chu family. Not only did she change the dirty clothes on her body, but she also completed the embroidery of the mandarin ducks that the eldest lady deliberately made things difficult for her. No matter what the maid Jingxin suggested, Chu Tanner, who woke up, couldn't remember what happened last night. The old maid of the eldest lady came to urge. It turned out that she had already called the second miss to sort out the dowry for tomorrow's wedding, but Chu Tanner woke up at noon and couldn't listen to the old mother's reprimand. Chu Tanner showed a domineering look. The eldest lady was insulted by the modern dialect she didn't understand. The old maid couldn't say anything, so she threatened to pass on the disrespectful words Chu Tanner said to the eldest lady, and left in a hurry. At this time, Chu Tanner began to doubt her own intermittent memory, but she did not know that she shared the same body with the real second miss of the Chu family, and the intermittent memory was also generated by the alternation of the two personalities. During the auspicious time, Chu Tanner just sat in the sedan chair leading to the 8th prince's mansion. In fact, Chu Tanner had a relationship with the 8th prince when she was over the wall. But at that time, she accidentally fell from the wall, and after waking up, she changed back to the second miss of the Chu family, so in Chu Tanner's memory there was no appearance of the 8th prince. Chu Tanner sat in the wedding room and felt uneasy. When night fell, she took off her red hijab and called Jing Axan with a sad face. She didn't want to marry the 8th prince, so she discussed with Jing Axan to give her the position of the 8th princess. After Jing Axan heard this, she was so frightened that she knelt down and persuaded Chu Tanner that this was the crime of deceiving the king and that she would be beheaded. Even though she couldn't shirk the position of the 8th princess, Chu Tanner was not the one to surrender. After taking a close look at the structure of the bridal chamber, she had an idea in her mind. At the wedding banquet, when all the guests were in the lobby, one person came to the wedding room alone. This person was the eldest prince, the eldest brother of the 8th prince. The second miss of the Chu family was in love with the eldest prince, and the eldest prince was also quite tempted by her. It was just that this marriage was given by their father, and even if the eldest prince was unwilling, he could not do anything about it. Yu Hao suddenly emerged from the dark night, holding the hilt of the sword and placing the blade behind the neck of the eldest prince, trying to warn him not to lean into the marriage room. It turned out that the 8th prince had escaped from the banquet at this time, and when they spoke, he was already standing behind the eldest prince. Although the two of them have a blood relationship, they each had their own ambitions, so the relationship had always been incompatible. As soon as the two met, there was a quarrel between swords and swords, with sharp blades in their words, and they refused to give in to each other. From the moment the 8th prince arrived, Chu Tanner had already heard the movement outside, so she simply covered her head and sat dignifiedly on the bed, waiting for the 8th prince to enter the room and fall into the trap set by herself, in order to prevent having sex with the 8th prince. After the eldest prince left, the 8th prince pushed open the door and signaled the servant girl to leave. Jing Xian's behavior was weird. The always sensitive and cautious 8th prince saw the trap at a glance, easily escaped the trap and got on the bed, pinning Chu Tanner under him. Chu Tanner screamed in fright, thinking about her menstruation as an excuse to escape the sexual intercourse. However, the 8th prince didn't really want to have sex with her, but thought that Chu Tanner at this time was just acting to cooperate with the eldest prince. After making a few sarcastic remarks, the 8th prince turned over and jumped several meters away from the room. Chu Tanner shouted angrily after hearing the taunting of the eighth prince. Exasperated, she forgot the trap she had set under her feet, and touched the mechanism with her steps. First, a waterfall of cold water poured down, drenching her all over, and then a 100-pound stake fell from the sky, knocking her to the ground. After that, Chu Tanner fainted again. When the insects and birds chirped, it was time to get up. When Chu Tanner woke up, she looked like a gentleman, and Jing Axian knew that it was the second miss of the Chu family who woke up. While dressing, she remembered the conversation with her father. Her father, Chu Jianglin, and the eldest prince had a very good relationship, and their family's mission was to help the eldest prince ascend to the throne, so that the Chu family could continue to live smoothly. Chu Jianglin threatened with the rise and fall of the family, and asked Chu Tanner to gain the trust of the eighth prince as soon as possible, and only then could he help the eldest prince. At this time, the real second miss of the Chu family had already noticed the strangeness of her body, and she also asked Jing Axian that once she became another person, she must remind herself to be cautious in her words and deeds. While speaking, the two arrogant concubines of the eighth prince had already arrived at the door. Under the guise of visiting, they deliberately came to humiliate Chu Tanner. The two spoke aggressively, and mentioned Chu Tanner's interest in the matters of the eldest prince. Chu Tanner endured again and again, threw the teapot on the table, and let the two leave quickly. Chu Tanner got up, just about to get off the tea couch, but unexpectedly, one of the concubines, with a vicious heart, deliberately raised her foot and tripped Chu Tanner. The personality of the fallen second miss of the Chu family changed into the savage and domineering Chu Tanner. The two concubines who were about to escape were stopped by her, and they were furious. Chu Tanner gave them a ruthless palm, and in a burst of mourning, the two were thrown out of the door.